Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for taking your time out today to be with us here for the Aladtec scheduling demo this morning. We're going to be looking at things today kind of from a perspective of an emergency medical services system. So our EMS friends can kind of get a scope of what that looks like for that industry. As always, the system can be flexed to meet the needs of multiple different industries, but we kind of shoot for the public
Okay.
safety sector. Um,
Thank you, Kelsey. I didn't mean to interrupt. Can you hear me now?
yeah, I gotcha.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You could certainly finish up here if you'd like, or I can take over either one.
Yeah, is there any other additional things you want to throw out there, Nancy?
I don't think so. I was just going to say, and I apologize to those listening here. I was muted somehow, and so I started it, but nobody could hear me. So I was just going to kind of introduce, and maybe Kelsey's already done that. Kelsey is the solutions consultant. I work in marketing. Both of us have used the scheduling system for years. I just wanted to mention that, if you aren't already aware, we do have the free trials out on the web site, aladtec.com. So we do have those for you to do as well. So if Kelsey, if you could, I'll just go on to the agenda.
Sure.
Okay,
Perfect.
thanks for covering for me there.
Absolutely.
So basically, as Kelsey mentioned, she's going to actually go through the system for you. Just kind of do a good overview, a little walkthrough of everything. We'll be touching base on the member database. Different things as far as what the member database would be your work and schedule qualifications and positions that your members can work. Schedule views, we've got a lot of different views for people to see, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly views, payroll views, things like that. We also have customizable forms. So she'll go through our form section where we have a lot of people do their like rig checks and timesheets and drug inventory checks and things like that. Right through the system. You can just do it all online, take your tablet or phone out to the vehicle or whatever and do what you need. And then we have a whole section on reporting, whether it's just your scheduled time reporting, overtime, time off, or if you are interested in doing our time clock kiosk that we have, so you can actually have people punch in and out. You could run reports as that with that as well. So that's just a quick overview. Just let you know, there is on your panel box there's a question section. If you have any questions at all, let us know and we will answer that for you, either on the air here with Kelsey, or it might just be on the back end here fielding those questions as well. So I will go ahead, pass it off to Kelsey then, and you can take it away.
All right, wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and swap things out here. All righty. Okay, so you guys should be seeing my Aladtec system now. Today we're going to be taking a high-level overview through the system so you can see some basic functionality. You're going to note here that Aladtec is not only a powerful scheduling tool, but there's a lot of additional options and features in this system to make it a really robust option for everyone out there. As Nancy mentioned, feel free to chime in with questions in the Q&A questions box, and I'm going to go ahead and start walking us through here. The main thing to note about Aladtec is that this is a 100% cloud-based product. So any device that has internet access and browser capability will be able to utilize the Aladtec system. So what that means for you guys is 24/7 access, up-to-date schedules, members having the ability to take actions against their schedules at any time of the day whenever they need to take care of those things. That being said, there's no native application that needs to be downloaded. We do have a mobile-friendly view of the site, so it will automatically flip over into the mobile-friendly version of Aladtec if you access it from a cell phone, or if you guys have things like tablets in your rigs, you can actually utilize the system in mobile view in that locale as well. So no native application to download, no personal or no information saved on personal devices, no need to update or maintain anything like an application on your personal devices. It's just ready to go. You can add things like a shortcut to your homepage on your phone and still have that one-click access to get into the system, but not be responsible for maintaining anything on a personal device. So when you first access the Aladtec system in the full site view that we're seeing here today, you're going to land on a homepage that is fully customizable. So there is an editor out here. It's going to feel a lot like modifying a Word document. We can add text, we can add tables, we can add hyperlinks. You can really make this space whatever you ultimately need it to be. This is something that I've seen flexed from general communication to emergency contact phone numbers. I think we've even seen joke of the day in some systems. So whatever suits your needs, you're going to have the option to flex that. The key takeaway on this page, though, guys, is going to be what we call the dashboard. So this is person specific depending upon who is logged into the system. So if I use my special Aladtec login here and emulate a member in this system, you're going to see a shortened version of the dashboard. Those people will see information that's pertinent to them. So their own next few upcoming shifts, events on calendars that they're a part of. If anybody's put out a trade that they could potentially pick up, they'll be able to actually click on that and take action from it here. You'll also have the option to see if there's any new unread posts in our discussion area. So you're going to have the ability to utilize a thread-based topic conversation tool in the system. For those of you that end up being top-level administrators or have scheduling authority, you're going to get some extra bonus features here. So things like the ability to review and process what we call change requests inside of Aladtec. So things like trades that require admin approval or signups for shifts, or if we have extra hours. So in the case of maybe a holdover or we're tracking call time outside of scheduled hours, your members can actually submit requests to have additional time tacked onto the schedule. So for example, in this particular case, Heather went on a call and needed to report that back for pay. So we can use that extra hours as an opportunity to report that time, even being able to provide things like notes for what call number or details associated with that call. We will have the opportunity to approve or deny those. And the same thing is going to apply for things like vacation time. So if we want to approve or deny vacation time, those requests can come into the same area. You will have the option to process those items in mobile. You're also going to see the option to do that in the schedule view. So whatever workflow ultimately makes sense to you, you're going to have the ability to flex. That's kind of a hallmark of the Aladtec product. Is it may be an out-of-the-box product, but there's always multiple ways to do things and a high degree of configurability to really make it your own. The other thing to note here, especially for our EMS friends, we do have the ability to track certification and licensing. So if you're looking for a powerful opportunity to keep track and keep people up to date on what's going on with those licenses and certifications, the system can not only tell you when something has expired, it can also tell you when it's expiring in the near future. So you get to set what that prior notification window is. Maybe you need to know 2 weeks ahead for a CPR cert, but if you need to do some continuing ed, maybe you want to know about it 6 months ahead of time. That powerful tool is going to give you the flexibility to decide what's appropriate for the different items you're tracking. It's also going to give you notification tools for yourself and for the members that are those whose stuff is expiring. And you're going to have the ability to impact scheduling. So if something expires and should prevent somebody from being placed on your schedule, you're going to have the ability to have that safety setting in the system itself. You'll also see all of the same items that your members would see if you were a scheduled employee. You would see upcoming shifts or trades that you could take, but really a great centralized area to get a general idea of what's going on here. You are going to have access to a setup area. We're not going to take you down the rabbit hole or too far into the weeds today, but essentially it's going to give you all of the tools you need to customize your Aladtec system. So things like controlling people's access to different areas of the system, people's editing capabilities, rules that go along with those actions like trades. Maybe they need to be within the same pay period when people swap shifts, or maybe we need to make sure that it's for the same number of hours. You're going to be able to set rules like that in the back end. You'll also be able to configure schedules, define types of time off in the system, and configure a payroll module. So lots of power, lots of functionality to flex back in that setup area. Looking forward at our member database, this is going to be your repository of member information. So anything that you want to house on your people as far as the information in the system, you're going to have the ability to customize a profile for these guys. As we look at this view, those that have access to this entire view will be able to see a grid style layout of the information in the member profiles. You have filtering and editing capability throughout the system. So anywhere that you see filter and edit, you can make an adjustment to what you're looking at. But you can do things like look at just certification related data or maybe basic member information. You'll always have the option to customize that view further too. You can pick and choose what fields you would like to include or exclude in any current view. You can also save that as a personal filter. So if you find yourself having to come in and click and use the same modified view multiple times, you can save yourself the trouble of recreating the wheel and save a filter for yourself. You are going to have some really neat, powerful tools back here. You are going to have the flexibility to add your own people to the system. You'll also be able to inactivate people. So people leave services, come to services, making those adjustments to the system is very quick and easy. And inactivating people maintains their historical data. So your schedule doesn't get deleted for 6 months in the past. Those people will simply go to an inactive status moving forward. Nature of the beast with EMS service, people come and go and come back. If somebody is inactive, we can reactivate their profile and simply start reusing that profile again. So status is something that's very fluid and can be adjusted as needed. You do have some additional features back here. For example, we do have messaging through our member database. This is one of the 2 external communication tools in the system. We can select some people and compose email, text message, or both in this area to send out to your entire staff at once or whomever you identify. There is also a separate coverage alert functionality, which you'll see in the schedule view page. If we change our view around here just a little bit and take a look inside of an admin setting, you're going to start to see inside those profiles the type of information that's housed here and some of the additional functionality here. So we'll assign everybody something like an access level or a work group, define what type of pay period they're a part of. But we're also going to collect messaging information for those notification options or things like resetting your password if you lock yourself out of the system. But what's really beneficial about Aladtec is the degree that you can customize notifications. So your members will have the opportunity to identify preferences for when their own requests get approved or denied. So the action of you approving a sign up for an open shift can actually directly trigger a notification to the member to let them know the outcome of that request. Same thing with like a time off request or a trade that can automatically communicate to your staff when those are approved or denied. Things like coverage alerts and that expiration data you can control at an admin level. So if we need to make sure that people are absolutely getting those, that option grays out at a member level. You guys get to set that and know that that's going out to your people when you need it to. Additionally, anybody who has scheduling authority is going to have the opportunity to set if they want to receive notifications about the people they schedule. So for example, if we wanted to look at this by work group or access level, we can say, hey, if one of my members signs up for a shift, send me a text message. I want to know about that a little faster so I can process things a little bit quicker. Or maybe a time off request, you would also like to go to your email, or maybe you want to get it both ways. You have the opportunity to adjust and decide what those external notifications about your people look like. You'll be able to define things like work qualifications, meaning the schedules and positions that people are allowed to work on and fill. This is going to be your tool for cross qualification, and your members do not have the option to change this. So we're going to make sure that people are qualified to work in the right places so the system can intuitively look back at that and make sure we're scheduling people correctly and we're doing things like backfilling positions correctly or trading shifts with the right types of people. Everything else here is fully customizable. So whatever information you guys want to house in here, you do have a configurator that'll allow you to build your own profile. So when it comes to certifications or licenses, for example, we can keep the ones that pre-populate or delete them. or rename them or move them around. The whole thing's drag and drop. So you can really make this your own. Any of these expiration fields are going to have that prior notification window option that you can set independently field by field. You can also decide if this needs to impact someone being scheduled so that we have that extra safety measure in place if needed. You can even take it as far as attachment fields. Maybe we want to not only collect expiration data, but upload photos or documents directly into a profile. You're going to have the opportunity to add attachment points to do that in your member database as well. Taking a look at the schedule itself here, we are looking at our pre-populated schedule for today in what we call the monthly calendar view. So this is one of multiple views in the system. You can certainly check these out. We've got some different options. In my past experience, my spreadsheet people tend to prefer a daily summary view that's going to have a different visual layout, less data, a little more expanded visually. Or maybe a weekly shifts view that's going to show you every single day of the week and who's on what times. This is absolutely up to you guys. You can always default your system to load to whatever the preference is, but at any point you can always pivot and look at this from a different way. Again, that common thread, filter, and edit, we can change what we're looking at. So we can turn off and on schedules, we can remove things that are pending or remove time off. You can really customize what you're looking at in the schedule to get a good, clear visual of what you need to. And all of those items we talked about on the dashboard that were pending are actually going to show up in here as well. So anything with a green A is pending that administrator approval. And it's as easy as clicking on those items and hitting approve. And the system will automatically adjust the schedule for you. So if we approve a trade, it's actually going to flip-flop the people on the schedule for you. You can always click on that and see the details, but there's always going to be indicators of traded shifts for transparency. If someone is on time off, when we process and approve that time off request, it's going to pull them off the schedule and create a vacancy. So if we need to do something like page out an open shift now to backfill for a driver on Medic 5, we're going to have the opportunity to use a send coverage alert tool. We can click on this item and identify who we need to, or which position we need to fill a shift for. And the system already knows from the member database who's qualified to work Medic 5 as a driver. And it also knows who's available, meaning they're not on time off or they're not on vacation or scheduled somewhere else. And the system can blanket message to all of those qualified and available people to direct them to navigate to the system and sign up for an open shift. Other items to be aware of here in the Aladtec space is the ability to do things like identify minimum staffing requirements. In this particular case, we're getting an indicator for a violation of minimum staffing. And if we view this, the system's telling us, hey, you said you needed 3 people between the hours of 7 and 1900, you only have 2. We can add ancillary requirements too. So maybe there needs to be 2 people and one of them needs to have a specific certificate or license. The system can kind of look out for you and point out places where you're below the number of people you need or don't have the appropriate type of people on your schedule. You are going to see open shifts as these purple shifts, and anytime we have an open shift, it's going to be an indicator that you have the option for signups. So signups can simply be processed from this view. We can label them if we need to. Maybe this was going to result in overtime. We can certainly throw that label on there at this point. But my personal preference is to process these inside of the hourly editor. If we hover over a schedule name and go to edit schedule, we're going to see a 24-hour representation of what our schedule is for the day. Any white space is going to be open time. Any blue shifts are people that are scheduled. And as we look to the bottom half of the screen, it's going to show us all of the people that are qualified for whatever position we have indicated. So if I click paramedic, this list is going to update to just the people that are paramedic qualified. Or if I click driver, that list is going to update again. In this case, because we have this open EMT spot, we've got some signups here, and you can use a calculator tool to help you decide who's the appropriate person to approve. So if things like hours within a certain time frame are important, For example, maybe hours in a pay period, or maybe seniority date plays a consideration, you can pull in different fields of data to help you decide who should ultimately get that shift. We also have the option to submit passive availability in the system. So if you are part of a department that has people once a month, let's say submit a list of days they're available to work the following month, the system can actually track those and have indicators built in here. So you can simply drag and drop to populate your schedule based off of the availability from your members. In terms of signups, the act of actual approval is very straightforward. As soon as you click approve, it's going to populate your schedule and clear out any additional signups. So you only ever have to process as many as you need to fill your schedule. And the act of that approval not only updated the schedule, but it also sent notifications to all of your members to let them know the outcome of those signups. We can do things like submit time off for people. Perhaps Ruth called in sick for this shift. We can certainly pull her off the schedule and have that come off of there. And anytime that we have an open spot, you're gonna see the ability to page those coverage alerts. So whatever view you're in, you can certainly page out an open spot. But ultimately, this whole area is drag and drop. So if we wanna add Colleen up here, we can just drag her and drop her up into the schedule. You can even adjust her time. So if this couldn't be taken, she couldn't take the whole shift, for example, we can split it between a couple people. It is a very user-friendly option. You can even pull people between schedules. So if Medic 5 was overstaffed, let's say, and we needed somebody to backfill a wheelchair van, you can actually drag and drop people between schedules to populate the spaces you need. From a member perspective, your members are going to interact through what we call the My Schedule page. So if I emulate Lois Frederick here, looking at her schedule for the month of July, she can see a monthly view of the details associated with her. She can share this to personal home calendars, and she's got a toolbar here to toggle off and on different items from her view if she doesn't want to look at those. The member interaction parts of the system are incredibly straightforward. So things like clicking on a shift is going to give them the option to do things like submit time off for one of the defined types of time off you allow. And the system can handle accruals as well. So if we need time to automatically drop into banks and then be deducted when it's utilized, we can do that. And it can even show balances and impacts of requests for the supervisor and the member as they put these in. If we're talking trades, we're going to be able to do that as giveaways or swaps. All logistical back and forth happens with your members. You guys don't have to be in the middle of that. You only have to step in at the point of approval if it's needed. But ultimately, these members are going to hang out in what we call the mobile view of the site. So if I flip this view over, kind of shrink this down, this is what it would look like if you were on a cell phone. So there's going to be a summary page with some basic detail level information here. So upcoming next few shifts, trades you might be able to grab, open shifts in the next 2 days, but you're going to have full access to the My Schedule page. So if we flip into that view, Lois is going to have all the same functionality. She can click on her scheduled shifts to see the details, request time off for a trade. She can use her view options to pull up her little tool chest here and turn on things like open shifts. And if there's any open shifts that she's qualified for, she's going to be able to click on those and sign up for those as well. We can even do that passive availability right from this view as well. So if somebody needs to go to the month of August and say, I'm available to work all of these days if you need me, they can actually go through and submit these right from their phone. If we're using forms in the system, which I'll cover here in a moment, you are going to have the opportunity to fill out forms on a mobile device. So if you guys have people out in a bay or a garage or out on the go with a tablet, they can actually fill out things like maintenance forms and stock supply forms while they're in the bay or the garage on their phone. And if you are an administrator here or a scheduler, you will have some bonus functionality here, as I mentioned earlier. You will see admin tasks here. So you will have the option to approve or deny requests that have come in from your members in the mobile friendly view. If I flip back to the full site view here, we do have a time clock available if you guys are interested in any type of web clock. It's a very straightforward interface with a digital kiosk that'll allow you to have members simply go to a website and clock in or clock out. That is available as an add-on to the Aladtec system. And there is a forms configurator out here. So we do have a library of over 200 different pre-built forms in the system. So whether that be mechanical checklists, rig checks, incident logs, inspection forms, kind of a little bit of everything. These came from our customers, so they shared them with us. We even have things like timesheets built into the system. You can go through and do drug box checks, things like that. These are all fully customizable and can be adjusted to meet your needs. So if I were to look at some of my active forms out here, we can have things like a drug box check where we can track expiration dates and add notes, maybe mechanical checklists. These are all really awesome digital forms that you can utilize that can be submitted on the go. And each one has independent settings. So you control who fills these out, who can modify someone's submission. You can decide who's going to look at reports for these. You even have the opportunity to add notifications at a form level and a field level. So either option will increase the opportunity to get some external notifications going. So maybe something is damaged or somebody indicates that an oil level is low. That can actually trigger a notification to maintenance. There are several different forms, reports in the system. You will get a corresponding form report that'll allow you to pull any details collected in any form submission for the entire duration of your use of Aladtec. So that stuff doesn't archive. You have a running record of that information when you need it. But you've also got some built-in reports, things like maybe a scheduled time report that's going to show you a breakdown of people's hours in a certain time frame. Maybe we need to isolate some specific things like a time type, like what were just my overtime hours, for example. You do have access to things like a payroll report that's going to give you a breakdown of everyone's time for your pay period. So individual records for regular hours, overtime hours, anything that was a paid type of time off, for example, will flow in here, and this can be exported or printed if you need this somewhere else. There is a system log out here, so every action that happens in the system is recorded with a date and timestamp. Nothing ever gets deleted, shifted, submitted, removed, paged without there being some kind of track record of that if it needs to be looked at any point. You do have 200 gigabytes of storage space out here, so if there are things like SOPs, reference sheets, policies, anything that would be beneficial for your people to have access to on the go or off of an internal network, this is a great place to put those items so that they can get to them on the fly. You can restrict folders so that certain access levels can access these folders and not others, but really a really great place to put some of that information that's visible and viewable outside of maybe the station, for example. You do have a discussion tool out here. It is kind of your Reddit style thread topic response tool where you can post a topic and allow your members to talk back and forth over it. You can define moderators. So if we do need to keep an eye on conversations that are happening, comments can be deleted or edited, for example. But ultimately, one of the kind of what I call the crowning jewel of Aladtec is the support that we have available to you guys. So there is a section out here in our help area that will show you videos and tech tips that cover pretty much everything you could ever want to do in the Aladtec system. So whether it be these webinars being recorded or specific customer webinars that we do monthly that cover different topics, all of that information is available to you guys at any time. This is an access level restricted area, so your members aren't going to get lost in videos about like the setup, for example. They'll see things like how do I use my schedule page, or how do I submit time off, those sorts of things. But ultimately, if you don't have 15 minutes to watch a video, contact us. We have Monday through Friday support with after hours paging. We are currently working towards a 24/7 support model here, hopefully within the year. But there is email support, our toll-free number, and there is website-based chat during business hours. So it doesn't matter if you're evaluating us as a potential customer or you're a paying customer. Any scope of question is welcome. So these are trained support specialists that are TCP Aladtec employees. This is an outsourced support. And they're going to get you the answers that you need. No, take a ticket and we'll call you back. Average response time is about 30 seconds. So anytime you guys need any help, there's always a wealth of people ready to help in and jump in and help you with whatever you're trying to accomplish. So that kind of takes us through the high end of the system. There's obviously a lot of detail that goes into this, and I'm sure Nancy would echo this. If this kind of piqued anyone's curiosity, we do offer custom demos. So someone like myself, a solutions consultant, would actually work with you and an account executive to collect your specific information and build out your Aladtec system. So if you want to see what this would look like for your people and your schedules, that is a free service that we offer. We want to make sure that you're making informed, educated decisions before you move forward with a software and make sure you're 100% comfortable with those items. So we're always happy to walk people through demos, build those customs, make sure that it's really something that's perfect for you. We definitely want to be your workforce ally on that.
All right, thanks, Kelsey. I do have one person here that I thought I would ask this question to you in case other people have similar questions.
Sure.
That they currently use a floater to cover leave, specifically last-minute callouts. And does Aladtec have something that can handle that, a function that will handle this?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times I have seen my customers do things like add a floater spot to a schedule. So your Medic 5 schedule, for example, may have an additional floater spot that's kind of that temp person for backfill. You always have the opportunity to either plan ahead and have those people entered in, or that coverage alert tool is going to be a great benefit. If we know that something's coming up and we're going to need to get that person in, you're going to have the opportunity to decide, even down to a specific individual, who these go to. So if you have that kind of on-call person who's kind of that floater, you could certainly page that shift in to a specific person if you had, an arrangement with that person. As I mentioned, you can also move people between schedules. So if that person is filling on one spot and you really need them more desperately in another spot for the day, we can drag those people between schedules. So if that floater ended up getting placed on maybe the ALS truck, but we really desperately needed them to move over to the medic vehicle, you can always drag and drop people between schedules as well.
Great, thank you. So I don't think I have any other. I answered some of these questions in the background, so I appreciate you reaching out for those questions, and hopefully we got everything answered. I'm going to just take over here from Kelsey's here. So just to follow up, if you do have any other questions, like Kelsey said, feel free to call in, of course, when we have the free demos, or work with your sales rep on getting some of those questions answered as well. We do have a recording of this. This has been recorded. So just so you know that since you have registered, and even if for some reason you had to get done early or couldn't join us, they are going to be sent to you after this. So you will have a recording of it. If you have any other questions, like I said, give us a call. Just going to take a look here if you have any other. Okay, just checking other questions. One other thing I wanted to mention before I let everybody go is that, and I'm not sure if Kelsey mentioned this, that we do also have integrations. I was talking to one gentleman in the chat here, and they actually use Time Clock Plus right now. And while Time Clock Plus has like this advanced schedule you can use, it isn't necessarily always geared towards public safety agencies like Aladtec, which is exactly what it was created for. So while right now there isn't an integration, it is on our agenda to be worked on. But so don't let that stop you from still, possibly using Aladtec and TimeQuick Plus at the same time. It will be coming at some point. But if you have any other questions, let us know. We really appreciate you taking the time today. And if I haven't answered a question, I will make sure to get back to you on that as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.